Dogs and cats are the two most popular pets in the world, but the way they became part of human life is completely different. One earned its place beside us long before farming, cities, or even permanent homes existed, while the other found its way into our lives much later, drawn by the opportunities humans unintentionally created. Who was domesticated first, dogs or cats? It's a simple question, but it reveals how humans first formed relationships with animals. To answer it, we go back thousands of years when survival depended on instinct and cooperation, and see how these two animals took completely different paths into our lives right here on History of Simple Things. Before deciding who came first, we need to understand what domestication actually is. Domestication isn't just taming an animal. It's a long-term evolutionary process where humans influence an animal's behavior, biology, and even genetics over generations. A domesticated species becomes different from its wild ancestors, often relying on humans for survival. This is important because not all animals that live near humans are truly domesticated. Some simply adapt to human environments without changing much at all. This distinction becomes crucial when comparing dogs and cats because one species was heavily shaped by humans while the other may have taken a more independent route into our homes. Dogs are widely considered the first domesticated animal in human history, and their story goes back incredibly far. Evidence suggests that dogs were domesticated from gray wolves at least 15,000 years ago, with some estimates pushing that timeline even earlier, possibly up to 30,000 or even 40,000 years ago. Unlike other domesticated animals, dogs were not tied to farming. They emerged during the time when humans were still hunter-gatherers. Wolves likely began approaching human camps to scavenge food, and over time the less aggressive individuals formed a mutually beneficial relationship with humans. Humans gained protection, tracking ability, and hunting assistance, while wolves gained a steady food source. This partnership gradually led to the domesticated dog, making it humanity's oldest animal companion. The reason dogs came first has a lot to do with timing and lifestyle. Early humans were constantly on the move, relying on hunting for survival. Wolves, being highly social and cooperative animals, were uniquely suited to integrate into human groups. They already lived in packs, followed leaders, and communicated effectively, traits that made them compatible with human social structures. Over time, humans selectively bred wolves for desirable traits like reduced aggression and increased cooperation. This active role in shaping dogs is what makes their domestication so distinct. Dogs didn't just live alongside humans, they became partners in survival, which accelerated their domestication process long before agriculture even existed. Cats, on the other hand, entered human life much later, and in a very different way. The earliest evidence of close human-cat relationships dates back around 9,500 years, including a burial in Cyprus where a cat was found alongside a human. However, true domestication likely began closer to 10,000 years ago, during the rise of agriculture. As humans started farming and storing grain, they unintentionally attracted rodents, and where there were rodents, there were wild cats. These cats were drawn to human settlements not because humans invited them, but because the environment suddenly worked in their favor. Over time, a relationship formed, but it wasn't the same kind of partnership seen with dogs. Unlike dogs, cats were not actively domesticated by humans in the same way. Instead, they followed what scientists call a commensal pathway, meaning they benefited from living near humans without being directly controlled by them. Wild cats that were less fearful of humans had better access to food, which gave them an advantage. Over generations, these traits became more common, leading to the domestic cats we know today. Even then, cats remained relatively independent compared to dogs. They didn't evolve to follow commands or work closely with humans, they simply adapted to coexist. This is why modern cats still retain many behaviors of their wild ancestors, from hunting instincts to solitary tendencies. When we place dogs and cats side by side, the difference in timing becomes clear. Dogs were domesticated at least 15,000 years ago and possibly much earlier, during the Paleolithic era when humans were still hunter-gatherers. Cats, by contrast, only began their domestication journey around 10,000 years ago, after humans had already developed agriculture and permanent settlements. That gap of several thousand years is significant, showing that dogs were already part of human survival long before farming even existed. Cats arrived later, adapting to a world that humans had already begun to reshape. In simple terms, dogs grew alongside humans, while cats joined once civilization had started to take form. This difference explains why dogs are more socially dependent on humans, while cats remain more independent. So, who was domesticated first, dogs or cats? The answer is clear. Dogs came first, and by a wide margin. They became early partners in human survival, helping with hunting, protection, and companionship long before farming even existed. Cats, on the other hand, arrived much later, adapting to human settlements as agriculture began to grow. In the end, it's a story of two different relationships, one built on cooperation and shared survival, and the other on quiet coexistence and independence. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.